Well, welcome in, Bronco fans. We sure hope everyone is staying healthy and safe during the coronavirus pandemic. I'm David Gentili with Santa Clara Athletics. Pleased to be joined by the head coach of Santa Clara women's soccer, Jerry Smith. And Coach Smith, first off, how's everything going with you in the house? Are you and your family staying safe and healthy during this time?
Yeah, thanks, David, and hi to all the Bronco fans out there. Yeah, we're staying home, which is easy for me. I'm kind of a homebody, so I love doing home projects. I love being in my backyard. I've kind of created an environment that I like being in. I've got an outdoor kitchen, an outdoor fireplace, a putting green. I'm pretty well set up in my backyard, so it's easy for me to be at home, quite honestly. My family's healthy. My youngest son, Jaden, trying to finish up his 8th grade year, and we're helping him with manage that. My wife Brandy does as many Zoom meetings a day as I do, and then my mom, nearly 80 years old, lives with us. So, I think probably we've tried to be a little extra careful maybe here, just because my mom does live with us, and she's in that most vulnerable age group, and so I think everyone's healthy, and we're trying to do the right thing and trying to do our part. And but we're certainly looking forward to some of these shelter-in-place orders loosening up, so we can kind of get out and about a little bit more than we are.
Well, Coach, March 11th was kind of when that first big domino fell when the NBA announced the suspension of its season. For this part of the offseason, March and April, what are the biggest things that are happening right now for your team?
Yeah, this is a really March, April, May, really important months for the Santa Clara women's soccer team. So we're missing a lot. Spring season, we had games lined up with UCLA and Stanford and Cal and other teams. So we missed those games. Really, for all coaches, the game is what we need to find out where we are and what do we need to work on. And spring schedule for soccer is a lot like spring schedule for football. We need new leaders to step up. We have to try out players in new positions to replace our seniors that have left. And we might be experimenting with new formations. And this year, FIFA over a year ago, made a lot of changes to our international game of soccer. College soccer did not adopt those last fall. We wanted to adopt them. I certainly wanted to adopt them, but college soccer didn't adopt them. Well, they all got passed, and they'll be in play when we move forward. And the spring would have been a great time for our players and coaches to get familiar with the new rule changes in our sport, which will now mirror more the international game. So spring is a really, really important time for individual, group, and team development, and we're missing out on it. Again, we have bigger priorities like stopping the pandemic that's currently going on. We get it, but we certainly are missing quite a bit.
What kind of communication are you having with the student athletes right now? Is it a lot of Zoom calls, and what sorts of things are you emphasizing to them to stay sharp during this time and be ready to go once you're actually able to get back to work?
Yeah, my staff and I, we Zoom with every single player every week. So, and we have a shared Google Sheet that we all make notes on. We can all see each other's notes. If I don't happen to check in on a particular player this week, I can certainly see the coach that did and what notes he or she made about their meeting with that player. So we Zoom with every single player every single week. And that's been great. It's been great. And in addition to that, we have our weekly staff meeting is now, of course, done by Zoom. Our coaches had a recruiting meeting today, done by Zoom. Once a week, I do a leadership meeting. I have a leadership training program within the Santa Clara women's soccer team. And so we have 6 returning players that are in our leadership training program. We meet on Mondays and we meet by Zoom, of course. We watch a great video by Simon Sinek, who wrote Leaders Eat Last. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of Zoom meetings. And, you know, there's a downside to the Zoom meetings, but there's also an upside to the Zoom meetings as well. And so as everything we do, we just try to focus on the upside. We try to focus on the things we can do and not worry too much about the things we can't do.
And this current situation, it's been this way for about the last 6 or 7 weeks. It's very much new. You know, we haven't seen anything quite like this, and especially with how it affects athletics, with just sheltering in place, complete shutdown, inability to meet face to face. Is there anything you're learning from this very new situation that you'll be able to take away and integrate into being a coach going forward?
Yeah, I think there's lots of things to be learned. You know, I think we do individual meetings frequently in our program, and of course those are face to face. But it's been kind of interesting to do these meetings when someone is in their home setting, and that's kind of, you know, interesting. We're learning a little bit more about their home life and their family life, and mom and dad pop their head into the video calls, and are their sisters or dogs or animals. So we learn a little bit about them. We also are meeting more frequently. I'm a huge fan of individual meetings. I truly believe the biggest mistake that coaches make is they talk to the team too much, which, by the way, could mean you're talking to no one. You talk to the team too much and you don't talk to the individual enough. Well, we do have some team Zoom meetings, but the individual meetings far, far, far outnumber anything that we do with a group or team. And I think that's been great. We're learning a lot more about each individual. And, you know, I think that's the key. You have to establish trust, and you have to understand who you're working with. Um, you have to tailor your coaching to each individual person. And the more you can get to know that person, the better you are equipped to make the right decisions about more or less, or tougher or easier, or left or right, or talk or listen. You know, so it's really been, I think, really helpful in some ways that we get to learn a lot more about each individual, what makes them tick, what makes them happiest, and certainly learning more about their home life and family during this time, much more than we would have otherwise. And the meetings are probably a little more comprehensive than they normally would be. And again, as I said, more frequently than they normally would be.
Is there anything from a meeting, say in the last couple of days or the last week, off the top of your head, where you got a really good nugget about one of your student athletes or coaches from getting to see this view of home life?
Yeah, you know, one of the kids I met with, Emma Reeves, she's a first year for us, and she is really, and I remember finishing the Zoom call, and I went downstairs and was talking to Brandy while having lunch, and I go, Emma is just one of the most interesting kids I have ever been around. She was talking about, you know, her family decided to build a barn. They have a horse, and they keep their horse at a stable, but they wanted to get the horse back on the property, so they built a barn. And her sister Carly and Emma were helping Dad make the barn, and the dad fell off the ladder. He broke his leg, and how awful that was. But then Carly and Emma had to finish the barn, and they did so. And then they you know, Emma wanted to paint a mural on the front of the barn door, and found out she's a tremendously talented artist. So I'm learning all kinds of things about these kids. I mean, Emma and her sister Carly built a barn, put up a windmill, painted a mural on the barn. And by the way, she's like almost a 4.0 student in bioengineering. So this kid is just really interesting, really funny. And I love the interaction that Emma has with Carly, her younger sister, and the mutual respect that they have for one another. They're very competitive, so they compete against each other. Emma was telling me a story about her and Carly were out on a run, and they were getting competitive and trying to move in front of each other, and finally it ended up into like this all-out sprint to get home, and who could be the first one home. And so it's little things like that to just you just learn a lot about people in these types of meetings that we're having now. We certainly talk a little bit about soccer and ball work and maybe tactics, but such a big part of the meeting has to do with the non-soccer part of their life, which is such an important part of the life for them. And again, the more coaches know about each individual and what's important to them and what they're capable of, I think we'll be a better coach for that person going forward.
Well, Emma Reeves, who you talked about there, is a young defender as part of a really good returning core coming up for the 2020 campaign with the team that's coming off of a good NCAA tournament run as well. When you look at the personnel and your team in total, what excites you about getting to work with this group going into next season?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited every year. I think every coach is. I love coaching. I really love coaching. I love teaching, and so I miss that. And I'm excited about every single team. Every team, I'm excited about figuring out the puzzle and getting them to their potential. And there's so many variables to kind of figure out. So I love puzzles, and it's always a big puzzle. Having said that, we're coming off some really good seasons, and we have a lot of ingredients that special seasons have. So I've been a part of some very special seasons at Santa Clara where we've either been national champions or the number one team in the country or the best team in the country. And those are special seasons. This next season has really shaped up to be what could be a very special season for us. And some of the things that are exciting is when your most talented players are also your best leaders, and we have that next year. When your best leaders are your most experienced players, and we have that next year. When you have depth in every position, that gives you a lot of options, because you're going to take injuries and you're going to take illnesses and you're going to take people being off form, and you need to be able to ride those moments out. So we really do have a lot of ingredients. And I remember when this rising senior class, when I recruited them, it was a really interesting time for me, recruiting. I think we recruited this rising senior class probably as they were freshmen and sophomores in high school. Thankfully, the new NCAA rules don't allow for that anymore. And I say thankfully because I don't think any of us really enjoyed recruiting really students that were that young. But back then we did. And so you're talking about, I don't know, 7 years ago, when we recruited this rising senior class, Alex Luetta and Julie Doyle and Kelsey Turnbow and Sophia Jones. And those are some really talented players. And I remember when we landed this class, I said back then, and they were sophomores in high school, I said, I can't wait for this senior class at Santa Clara. And that's what's coming up for us this next fall.
We're really looking forward to watching that, with the progression of this group the last couple of years, hopefully ended on one heck of a ride for those seniors. And Coach, you had mentioned there that you really miss everything about coaching. Just in the pandemic times that we're going through right now, what else do you miss? What would you normally be doing if you were getting out of the house, going out for some recreation?
Yeah, I think, well, again, I want to be on the record as saying, first of all, I'm a homebody. I love being at home. I love being at home with my family. I love doing house projects inside the house, in the backyard. My team knows I love gardening. I have a beautiful garden, and my garden is immaculate. There's not a weed in my garden. So I, I, I love doing those things. But I think anyone that knows me knows that I also enjoy golfing with my friends, and that's been shut down. The new shelter-in-place order that just came out from Santa Clara County, thankfully, opens the golf courses next week. So as much as I'm a homebody and I love being at home, as much as I love coaching and the Zoom meetings that I'm doing with my players every day, I'm certainly going to enjoy getting out and playing a little golf with my friends, of course, while paying attention to physical distancing and paying attention to the new normal for golf, like, the ball doesn't go in the cup and there are no rakes in the bunker, and we're walking the course instead of riding in carts with one another. So we'll look forward to. I enjoy golf, the challenge of golf, but I really enjoy the social interaction with some of my very, very close friends. And certainly we've had a couple of meetings on Zoom and so on, and it's fine, it's workable, but it's certainly going to be nice to have some human interaction with some of my closest friends out on the golf course.
That's the head coach of Santa Clara women's soccer, Jerry Smith. Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Go Broncos.
And to keep up with the latest in Santa Clara athletics, go to santaclarabroncos.com. You can also find us on social media. Look for the handles at SCU Broncos. Thanks for watching, everybody.